Hi all, welcome back to a new session. Today we are going to discuss about respiratory system facts for multiple choice questions. First one, in emphysema, the wall integrity of individual air sacs is damaged, reducing the surface area available for gas exchange. So what happens in emphysema? The wall integrity of the air sacs is impaired or damaged. So the surface area for gas exchange is not there adequate as before. So gas exchange surface is also damaged. So that is what is happening in emphysema. A client with emphysema should receive only 1 to 3 liter per minute of oxygen if needed only, or he may lose his hypoxic drive. So we have to be very careful while administering oxygen to any patient. The overflow of oxygen can cause many hazards, and in a patient with emphysema, there is chance for diminished drive for air intake. Hypoxic drive is needed for air intake. Some amount of carbon dioxide should be there in our brain to maintain the respiratory drive. So that will be lost if you are giving excess of oxygen. Then atelectasis develops when there is interference with normal negative pressure that promotes lung expansion. So atelectasis means there will be collapse of the lungs. So this will happen if there is some interference with the negative pressure that promotes lung expansion. Atelectasis is the most common respiratory disorder to occur in the first 24 to 48 hours after surgery. So post-surgical patients, we are always careful about not developing the atelectasis in our patients. So for that, we will be doing so many measures like deep breathing and coughing exercises, use of incentive spirometer and all. So the next point is using an incentive spirometer requires client to take deep breaths and promote lung expansion, which can reduce or prevent the incidence of atelectasis in a post-operative patient. So incentive spirometer is a method to reduce atelectasis or prevent atelectasis in a post-operative patient. So we will discuss about the various type of airways according to anatomy. The upper airways include the nasopharynx, that is the nose area, then the oropharynx, the mouth part of the airway, and the laryngopharynx and larynx. The upper airways are always, their function are to keep the airways or humidify the air or keep the air warm or filter the airway. So these are the functions. The upper airway, warm, filter and humidify the inhaled air. So that is the main function of the upper airway. The lower airways begin with trachea or the windpipe, which extends from the cricoid cartilage to the carina. So what is carina? Carina means the area where the windpipe or the trachea divides into right and left bronchi. So that is the extent of the lower airway. The trachea divides into right and left main stem bronchi, which continue to divide all the way down the alveoli, the gas exchange units of the lungs. So the gas exchange units of the lungs are alveoli. So till that the airway extends. So trachea divides into right and left main stem bronchi, which continue to divide all the way down to the alveoli. Then the alveoli are called the gas exchange units of the lungs. So this is the picture of the respiratory tract divided into upper and lower airway. So the one on the left you can see the upper respiratory tract, nasal cavity, the pharynx, the larynx, and the lower from the this lower to the larynx, from trachea to the alveoli. So that is the lower respiratory tract. So in the other picture, we can see the various structures. So you can see the tongue, the epiglottis, the supraglottic area, the vocal cord, then the glottic or the vocal cord area, then the subglottis. So from epiglottis to the subglottis is called the larynx, and behind the trachea you can see esophagus, and from front you can see the trachea. So these are the various structures. You have to keep the picture in your mind while discussing the respiratory system. Okay. So the larynx houses the vocal cords and is the transition point between upper and lower airways. The epiglottis is a flap of tissue that closes over the top of the larynx when the client swallows, protects the client from aspirating food or fluid into the lower airways. So what is epiglottis? It's a flap of tissue that closes over the top of the larynx when we are swallowing our food. So this epiglottis prevents aspiration of food into the airways. The right lung has three lobes, the upper, middle and lower. So right for try. So right lung has three lobes and left lung is smaller and has only an upper and a lower lobe. The lungs share space in the thoracic cavity with heart and great vessels, the trachea, the esophagus and the bronchi. The space between the lungs are called the mediastinum. So between two lungs the space is called mediastinum. The diaphragm and the external muscles are the primary muscles of breathing. So which are the primary muscles of breathing? The diaphragm and the external intercostal muscles. The diaphragm and the external intercostal muscles contract when the client inhales and relax when the client exhales. So that is the peculiarity of diaphragm and the external intercostal muscles. Accessory inspiratory muscles include trapezius, sternocleidomastoid and scalenus, which combine to elevate the scapulae, clavicle, sternum and upper ribs. So during inspiration, we will inhale and there should be an elevation of the scapula, clavicle, sternum and the upper ribs. So for that movement, all these muscles are required. Men, children, infants, athletes and singers usually use abdominal or diaphragmatic breathing, and in case of women they use chest or intercostal breathing. So the type of breathing is different in men and women. Flat percussion as found over the thigh may indicate consolidation as in atelectasis and extensive pleural effusion. So consolidation is a sound which is called flat percussion. So when we percuss over the thigh, there will be a sound. So that sound is called a flat percussion. So that kind of sound, if present, it is called consolidation. And this consolidation is usually present in case of atelectasis or extensive pleural effusion. So flat percussion is a peculiar feature in atelectasis and extensive pleural effusion. Dull percussion as found over the liver may indicate a solid area as in lobar pneumonia. So what is dull percussion? So as the sound we hear when we are percussing our liver, that is called a dull percussion sound. And if we are getting such a sound when we are percussing over the lung area, then it is a case of pneumonia. So it could be a lobar pneumonia. Resonant percussion, that is long, loud, low-pitched, hollow sounds indicate normal lung tissue, or it can also be there in bronchitis also. So normally what is the sound is resonance. So resonant percussion sound is the normal sound heard over the lung field. Then hyperresonance percussion sounds, that is very loud, low-pitched sounds as found over the stomach may indicate a hyperinflated lung as in case of emphysema or pneumothorax. Then tympanic percussion sound, that is loud, high-pitched, moderate length, musical, drum-like sound as found over the puffed out cheek may indicate air as in case of large pneumothorax. So when the sound is hyperresonant, it can be a case of pneumothorax, that is presence of air trapped in the pleural cavity. Then tracheal breath sounds are harsh, high-pitched sounds that are heard above the supraclavicular notch. This is the supraclavicular notch. So when we are keeping the stethoscope over here, we will hear a harsh, high-pitched sound that is called tracheal breath sounds. Then bronchial breath sounds are loud, high-pitched sounds heard just above the clavicles on each side. On your clavicle bone, if you are auscultating, you will hear a high-pitched loud sound that is called bronchial breath sound. Then bronchovesicular breath sounds are medium in loudness and pitch and can be heard next to the sternum between the scapulae. So at the back, if you are auscultating, we will be getting this kind of sound, bronchovesicular, from the bronchi to the divisions of bronchi and the lung units. So we will hear such sound, bronchovesicular sounds, that is the medium sounds which are medium in loudness and pitch. Then vesicular breath sounds are soft, low-pitched sounds that are heard in the remainder of the lungs. So when we go to the alveolar or the minute areas of the lungs, you will hear a vesicular breath sounds. These are soft, low-pitched sounds that are heard at the remainder area of the lungs. Then bronchial breath sounds are discontinuous and are loudest during exhalation. So these are not continuous sounds. There will be a break between the inspiration and expiration, and it is loudest during expiration or exhalation. The tracheal breath sounds are harsh, discontinuous sounds heard over the trachea during the inhalation or exhalation. We are already told. Then bronchovesicular breath sounds are continuous sounds that occur during inhalation and exhalation. So difference between bronchial and bronchovesicular is that bronchial breath sounds are discontinuous and bronchovesicular breath sounds are continuous. Then tachypnea is shallow breathing with increased respiratory rate. Tachypnea, shallow breathing with increased respiratory rate. Bradypnea is a regular breathing at a decreased rate. Then apnea is the absence of breathing and it can be a periodic phenomena. Then hyperapnea is increased depth of the breathing is called hyperapnea. There is increased depth of the breathing, that is called hyperapnea. Then Kussmaul's respirations are rapid, deep breathing without pauses that in adult result in a rate of more than 20 breaths per minute. Breathing usually sounds labored with deep breaths that resemble sighs. So that is Kussmaul's respiration. These are rapid, deep breathing without pauses in adults, resulting in a rate of more than 20 breaths per minute. Breathing usually sounds labored with deep breaths that resemble sighs. Then what is Bayet's respiration? These are rapid, deep breathing with an abrupt pauses between each breath and an equal depth to each breath. So there will be abrupt pauses between each breath and the breath is equal in depth. All the breaths are equal in depths. Then decreased breath sounds or inspiratory and expiratory wheezing is associated with asthma. Pneumonia can produce bronchial breath sounds over the area of consolidation. So the bronchial breath sounds are heard over the area of consolidation in case of pneumonia. Only way to re-expand the lung in the right spontaneous pneumothorax is to place a chest tube on the right side so that the air in the pleural space can be removed. So what is happening in pneumothorax? The air get trapped in the pleural space. So we have to remove the air, then only the lungs can re-expand to the normal character. So what we will do, we will put a chest tube or intercostal drainage so that the air will be removed. So the lungs will come back to its normal position. An incentive spirometer is used to encourage deep breathing. We already told that deep breathing is important to prevent atelectasis in case of postoperative patients. The placement of a chest tube will drain blood from the space and re-expand the lung in case of hemothorax. So as in case of pneumothorax, we will keep a chest drainage at the lower area to drain the hemothorax or the blood collection or any fluid collection, so the lung can re-expand. A small area of tissue close to the surface of lung is removed in a wedge resection. So what is a wedge resection? A small area of tissue close to the surface of lung is removed. So that is called a wedge resection. An entire lung is removed is called in a pneumonectomy. Pneumonectomy means the total lung, one lung is removed. Lobe of the lung is removed in case of lobectomy. A segment of the lung is removed in case of segmental resection. In a lobectomy, the remaining lung lobe or lobes overexpand slightly to fill the space previously occupied by the removed tissue. So the remaining part of the lung will expand in excess to occupy the portion from which we have already removed the tissue. And in case of a pneumonectomy, that is removal of the total lung, what happens? Serous fluid fills the space and eventually consolidates, preventing extensive mediastinal shift of the heart and remaining lung. So in case of pneumonectomy, the serous fluid will come and fill the space of the lung, and then it gets solidifies, and there the mediastinal shift of the heart and remaining lung will be prevented in such a way. Pulmonary embolism blocks the pulmonary vasculature, preventing blood flow to the distal region of the lung and interfering with gas exchange. So what happens in pulmonary embolism? The emboli will go and occlude the pulmonary vasculature so that there is no blood to the distal region of the lung and there is no gas exchange. So that is what is happening in pulmonary embolism. A pulmonary angiogram is used to definitively diagnose the pulmonary embolism. So what is the definitive method to diagnose pulmonary embolism? It is a pulmonary angiogram. So pulmonary angiogram is the way to definitely diagnose a pulmonary embolism. An infracted area in the pulmonary embolism produces alveolar damage that can lead to production of bloody sputum. So the characteristic sputum in case of pulmonary edema is what is called pink frothy sputum. So pulmonary embolism or bloody sputum can be there, and in case of pulmonary edema it is pink frothy sputum. Pulse oximetry determines the percentage of hemoglobin carrying oxygen. So what is pulse oximetry? It is used to determine the percentage of oxygen carrying capacity of, we will be seeing the percentage of oxygen in pulse oximetry. Hemoglobin carries oxygen to all tissues in the body. Then continuous positive airway pressure or CPAP can be provided through an oxygen mask to provide oxygenation in case of hypoxic clients. Bilevel positive airway pressure BiPAP delivers both continuous positive airway pressure, that is CPAP, and positive end expiratory pressure, that is PEEP. Thoracentesis is used to remove excess pleural fluid and restore proper lung status. Exudates found in the pleural fluid after thoracentesis is usually occur in response to malignancy, infection, or inflammatory process. Bubbling in the water seal chamber of a chest drainage system stems from an air leak. So what happens? Air leak can only cause bubbles in the water seal drainage. So you have to be very careful. There is a tidalling movement whether present or not in the water seal system in the intercostal drainage. If there is bubbling, that means there is some kind of air leak. In pneumothorax, an air leak can occur as air is pulled from pleural space. To prevent hypoxia, continuous suctioning shouldn't be last more than 10 seconds at a time during catheter withdrawal. So when we are suctioning a patient, that should not be longer than 10 seconds to prevent the hypoxia. Normal arterial blood gas values include normal pH is 7.35 to 7.45, normal PaCO2 35 to 45 millimeter of mercury, normal PaCO2 75 to 100 millimeter of mercury, and normal bicarbonate level 22 to 26. Sometimes it also called 28 and all. Anyway, it's the normal range of arterial blood ABG values. Below normal pH, an elevated PaCO2 and normal bicarbonate indicate respiratory acidosis. With metabolic acidosis, pH and bicarbonate are low and PaCO2 is normal. In respiratory alkalosis, pH is elevated and PaCO2 is low. In metabolic alkalosis, both pH and bicarbonate are elevated. Semi-Fowler's position, that's head end of the bed elevated to 30 degrees, promotes optimal lung expansion. Sitting upright and leaning slightly forward increases lung expansion. Tension pneumothorax causes severe respiratory distress, hypotension, and diminished breath sounds over the affected area. Tension pneumothorax also causes hyperresonance, distended neck veins, tracheal shift, and possibly paradoxical chest wall movements on the injured side. Pneumonia is an acute infection of the lung parenchyma. Immobility places the client at risk for pneumonia. TB or tuberculosis infection typically occurs from inhaling infected droplets after a person with TB coughs. Transmission of tuberculosis infection usually requires close, frequent, and prolonged contact. In pleural effusion, fluid accumulates in the pleural space, impairing the transmission of normal breath sounds. Crackles that are called short, explosive, or popping sounds commonly accompany the atelectasis, interstitial fibrosis, and left-sided heart failure. Rhonchi are low-pitched sounds with snoring quality, suggest secretions in the large airways. Wheezes are high-pitched hissing sounds resulting from narrowed airways, as in asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, that is COPD, or bronchitis. The non-rebreather mask delivers oxygen concentrations of 80% to 100%. Non-rebreather mask is reserved for emergency situations. A partial rebreather mask delivers oxygen concentration of 60 to 80%, and a nasal cannula delivers oxygen at a flow rate of 1 to 6 liter per minute. A flow rate of 4 liter per minute delivers an oxygen concentration of 36%. A flow rate of 6 liter per minute delivers an oxygen concentration of 44%. Respiratory alkalosis is defined as a pH greater than 7.45 and PaCO2 less than 35 mm per mercury. Then respiratory alkalosis is generally associated with deep and rapid breathing. Neurologic effects of respiratory alkalosis include lightheadedness or dizziness, circumoral and peripheral paresthesia, and carpopedal spasms, twitching, and muscle weakness as it progresses. Metabolic acidosis is defined as a pH less than 7.3 and PaCO2 less than or equal to 34 mm of mercury, depending on respiratory compensation, and bicarbonate less than 22 milliequivalents per liter. In Cheyne-Stokes respiration, breaths gradually becomes faster and deeper than normal, and then slower during 30 to 170 second period with an intermittent period of apnea. So Cheyne-Stokes breathing. So that's all regarding the facts for multiple choice questions, and keep watching the videos. Thank you. If you have not subscribed this channel yet, kindly subscribe this channel by clicking the subscribe button below